Hey, and welcome to today's Builder series. Today, I get to talk to somebody that, man, I have not spoken to in months. The first time we got connected was at ETH Denver, and I heard about Endowment and was really anxious to have the opportunity to sit down and learn more and share the story, spread the story of how USDC is being used for a great cause in a real world use case. I've got Robbie Heeger here, and he is the CEO, founder, president of Endaoment. There's a lot going on, Robbie. We have, the giving season coming up, which is, something that's very important and near and dear to my heart. And I know that Endaoment has been working on something really cool for everyone. I'm just going to tee it off that way. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Sam. And yeah, that's true. We are really trying to cross the chasm here from being just a crypto focused company to being a company for everyone. And I think you're seeing a lot of people do that across the crypto landscape is how do you translate the thing that you've made for people with wallets or people with digital assets? How do you translate that into something where you don't have to have a degree in crypto in order to understand how to use this crypto powered product? And that's what we've been working on at Endaoment. Now, let me back up a few steps. Endaoment is a community foundation. Community foundations, there are thousands of them in the US and around the world. Community foundations are philanthropic institutions that exist to support a specific community. And in our case, we see our community as the on-chain or the online community, right? We are the internet's community foundation in our eyes. And that community has a very specific set of values and expectations and sort of desires from its philanthropic institution. And so we built Endaoment to basically build a community foundation for the internet that was meant to be global, always on, super transparent, very easy to use, very cheap, right? We want to recognize all of those different benefits that the internet gives us with all of the services that we use every day, like, Uber or DoorDash or, online banking, even though online banking is not my favorite. But we wanted that new, fresh experience for giving as well. And that's what Endaoment is here to do. We primarily offer people what's called a donor advised fund. A donor advised fund is kind of like a charitable checking account. Some people call them giving accounts. Some people call them funds. Some people call them DAFs, like DAF, donor advised fund for short. But really what they are is your own little home for your charitable giving. And that's not really something that we have a culture in our society around having. Like normally you go to a nonprofit and you say, hey, I like what you're doing. I'm going to support you and here's some cash. And the problem with that is that you don't always have cash. Sometimes you have digital assets or you have stocks or you have a car that you want to give. And so there's organizations like Cars for Kids, right? They specialize in taking cars. What we specialize in is taking digital assets and increasingly assets of any kind with a liquid market, but that aren't cash. Right? So we specialize in taking in what are called complex assets because they're not cash. And we take in that donation. You say, hey, Robbie, Endaoment, here's my, here's one of my Bitcoin that I bought 5 years ago, and it's appreciated a lot in value. And if I were to sell it, I would owe tax on it. But if I give it, then I get to write off the full value of that one Bitcoin that I just gave to charity. So now the charity's getting more money and I get more of a deduction on my tax bill. And that's where the value of a donor advised fund really becomes important. And we're really excited to bring that financial primitive. You hear so much in crypto about people bringing financial primitives like borrow lend or derivatives trading or synthetic assets or yield bearing market, all these different financial primitives that are being worked on in the DeFi space. Well, our financial primitive is the donor advised fund. And to date, we've got a little over 300 donor advised funds open from. Yeah, we're actually getting pretty close to 400 now, which is cool. And we've seen donations of almost, we're just getting up, we're at $59.22 million. So we've almost seen $60 million in donations, primarily in digital assets. And of those $59 million, 43 of them have been granted out to nonprofits, to over 700 nonprofits around the country. But that's not all of the nonprofits that we support. We support up to 1.8 million nonprofits. If they're an eligible nonprofit in the US or increasingly abroad, we just brought on 4,000 nonprofits from 150 different countries around the world. So we're really trying to build this all-in-one home for giving, where you don't have to worry about what kind of asset you have. You don't have to worry about what org you want to support. You know that the tooling is there for you, and that it's there for you in a way that you would expect any other financial tool to be there for you in the 21st century.
Robbie, this is honestly amazing. Let me ask you, I mean, I've been in this space and I've seen a lot of folks, have different ambitions. This is probably the only one that I've come across where this focus has been on giving. And so it just pushes me to want to ask you, what drove you into this particular space in the industry?
I think for me, this was sort of serendipitous. It wasn't like I was coming into crypto like, I want everybody to give. There wasn't some big crusade that I was on. I started in crypto as an investor, like most people. And I was looking for a way to give some of my crypto assets to charities in order to optimize for my tax bill, which is one of the main reasons why people in the United States will give is, one, because it feels good, two, because you're helping people, but three, because the government gives you a tax benefit. And so I had a habit of giving prior. Like in previous jobs, I would give some stock into a donor advised fund. And I was very fortunate to have a family who kind of educated me about this idea of a DAF, right? What is this vehicle and why does it help you? And that exposure helped me see a gap in what was available in the crypto market. And at the time I was learning how to code, I was in between jobs. I was trying to find something that meant more to me, that felt like work of consequence, that felt like if I didn't do it, that the world would be a worse off place. And if I did do it, the world would be a better place. And yeah, like Endaoment just kind of like, I don't know if people are, I'm a Harry Potter fan, which is like lame and dates me.
You see my Star Wars in the back, so you see
Endaoment is kind of like the room of requirement for me. Like it appeared when I needed it. And I think it's been a real safe space for me to get to experiment with crypto and engineering and decentralized governance and decentralized philanthropy and like all of these new concepts around quadratic matching or tokenized governance or, digital yield bearing markets or financial primitives that exist on the internet that don't ever close, that are completely trustless and permissionless. And it just immediately, I gravitated towards the idea of like, what would it be like if we tried to do this for a community foundation? Because there's no doubt that as crypto grows, this community of people who are working and using and experiencing this new technology are going to have moments of like real financial gain. And for us to be able to be right there with really good technology that speaks to their values about how they made that money, and then be able to say, look, you can share that story with a nonprofit and help change people's lives is like just the best feeling in the world. I hope I do this job till I'm no longer working.
Wow, wow, wow. I felt that. I'm sure a lot of people listening felt it as well. Let's move over to USDC.
Sure.
Work at Circle. It's kind of how we got connected, right?
Yep.
It said
Yep.
your platform utilizes USDC. My honest question to you, and I do mean this honestly, is why? Why was USDC the choice and the need to make what Endowment is seeking to do possible?
So when we made this decision, and I don't know that we would make this decision differently now, the landscape hasn't really meaningfully changed that much. But when we made this decision to go with USDC, we had to pick a base unit of account for our programmable community foundation, right? So we have this new financial institution, this new philanthropic institution called Endoament, and it's powered by smart contracts. And the way our smart contracts work is it says like, okay, what's the base currency of the organization, right? Like how do we value every gift that comes in? And for us, that's dollars because we're a US based nonprofit. And so at the time, we had three choices really. We had USDT from Tether, we had DAI from Maker, and we had USDC from Circle. And really what we needed was the tools to be able to off ramp this digital coin very quickly into the bank accounts of real world counterparties in the US market. And when that is your reality, there's really a very straightforward decision to make. And that's about who has that tooling and who has that reputation to not have your flow of funds become a reason why people don't interact with you, right? We wanted to de-risk our flow of funds as much as possible. And by partnering with USDC, we went with the most reputable in the eyes of other businesses in the US. And that's made it really easy for them to not be like, I don't totally understand what this stablecoin is or how it's backed or where it's funded by or whether they're, being environmentally friendly or OFAC compliant or, looking for KYC and AML controls, like all of those things that Circle has made a point of being compliance first on helps us be able to approach a nonprofit and give them USDC and have it be something that isn't so scary to them, that doesn't feel like they're taking a big risk. And so that's why we chose USDC, is because it de-risks the offboarding process of us being able to pay out nonprofits, which is like, that's where we win, is when we pay out nonprofits. That's when the message grows, when the community grows, when the impact is felt. That's what we're playing for. And so our choice to go with USDC was really centered around that.
Wow, wow. Let's move into, blockchain, right? So you are utilizing blockchain, you're built on a blockchain. Can you talk about your choice and exactly how Endowment is leveraging the open blockchain to meet its goals?
So traditionally at community foundations, like the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, 50-year-old institution, billions of dollars in assets under management, really phenomenal organization. They help bring DAFs to the forefront. And they have multiple teams on their squad. One that's like an accounting team. And really, this is true of many community foundations. Is most community foundations have an accounting team that is in charge of investing assets, moving assets around, making sure things are accounted for correctly, and then they have a grant making team, which are the people who work with donors to figure out what organizations they want to support, why they want to support it, how do they get the right amount of money to that organization, how should they structure the deal. And for us, we put both of those full teams and put them into code and onto smart contracts, right? So all of the management of the flow of funds and the accounting and the grant making is happening in a smart contract ecosystem, right? In a protocol. And that's built this sort of publicly auditable, but still anonymized, open record keeping of our community foundation. So it's really pushed us to reconsider, like, what does a community foundation need to report about its giving? Should it say just the organizations it's supported, or should it say each individual donation, how much it was, what it came from, where it came from, and that it safely arrived at the nonprofit? And I think that kind of both increased efficiency, because now we don't have to have all these teams. We have smart contracts that are deterministic, that enforce our fees, enforce our policies about what kinds of nonprofits you can send to, allow for community governance over, ethical questions and policies and procedures and fee coefficients, right? All of this stuff that normally you need all these people for, and all of this overhead to run, is now running on chain. And that is really, really powerful, both for how fast we can move, but also for how transparent we can be and the fees that we charge, and really trying to drive the cost of having access to this vehicle down as much as possible.
I think that what you just described is so important. And I'm going to pause. If you're listening to this right now, just pause it real quick, hit the share button to at least 10 people who do not understand the significance of how blockchain technology with smart contracts can truly make an impact. Everything you're saying is just getting me excited, because I was involved with nonprofits as well. I founded a nonprofit.
Let's go.
Shortly after college, I chaired as a board director with the Guardian Ad Litem for
Amazing.
Several years. And so, this hits really close to my heart. So I'm passionate about this. And, one of the things that even back then, right, this is before like the big boom of what we are right now, before blockchain got to this point, it comes down to that is transparency, right? I mean, most organizations, you're dealing with volunteers, right? And so, you're depending on all of these people to chip in. When people want to donate, there's always that question of like, how can this be tracked and traced? And how do I know where my money got to where it needed to be? What you're describing answers all of this. It's amazing to see this operate. I'm curious. I mean, you mentioned you have all these nonprofits that you've signed up. What was the number again?
We're just under 8,000 verified nonprofits now. And we can support gifts to up to 1.8 million different nonprofits. It's just a matter of people searching for them and wanting to give to them. Yeah.
What is that onboarding process like, for a nonprofit that wants to be a part of this network? Is it something that's complicated? Do they have to go? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah. So for a nonprofit, it's, like we were talking about earlier, it's basically been our goal to make that as scary, as safe feeling as possible, like as scare free as possible, right? For many nonprofits, this is their first interaction with digital assets or with, or with, crypto and any stable coins in any way, shape, or form. And so for a lot of them, they're skeptical. And so we spend a lot of time really trying to educate them about like what we do, how it works, how it compares to other people in the space, and how it's not very different from Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard Charitable, and that we're just using different tools to move in a more efficient manner. And once they understand that, and once those sort of like first dollars hit their account, there's kind of this like light bulb that goes off where it's now clear to them that this is where the next gen donor is going to live. There's, this is not a philanthropy podcast, but if it was, you would talk all the time about the next gen donor, right? And sometimes we talk about like, what is this new class of investors, right? Like, what is the Gen Z millennial class of investor? Where do they live? What do they expect from their financial institutions? What do they prioritize when they're making decisions about how to manage their money? And in that way, we've started from scratch with a team that identifies as, that audience and is building for themselves about, getting this to be as simple and straightforward as possible. And I think organizations come in, they start off skeptical, but then they see that first grant come through, and now it clicks to them that the funding mechanism is kind of more indicative of where money is going to come from than maybe the way that they found out about the organization or the global climate or sort of global attention span on their issue. That it has more to do with building community in a global environment where you're really accessible and where you say, yes, I'm interested in this new technology and I'm going to be open to it and I'm going to encourage my donors. I'm never going to say no to somebody who has a digital asset just because I don't know how to take it. And I think that's been very liberating for nonprofits to be able to make that shift, because they're all talking about it in their boardrooms, right? Like they're all sitting there like, how do we take crypto? How do we engage with this younger generation? How do we show our program to the world? And I think what's been exciting about what we've done is that we give people a platform to start to answer those questions in a way that feels really values aligned with them.
Very, very interesting. I kind of teed it up that you have something for everyone. Endoament for everyone was, that was the dad pun, everybody listening. I apologize. But yes, Endoament for everyone is something that you all just released. It's great timing. We've got the giving season coming up. Before we jump into Endoament for everyone, tell us about what is the significance of the giving season?
So the giving season is kind of like a cultural phenomenon in the US. And this is going to get a little bit in the weeds, but I'll try to go through it quickly. All right. So bear with me here. Throughout the year, you have your trading portfolio and you're trading your investments and you're making or you're losing money. And it's not until the end of the year that you really know how much money you made or lost. And the government is looking at the end of the year, and that's where they say, okay, this is how much money you made or how much money you lost. And so as people get closer to the end of the year, they start to get a clearer picture of their own financial situation, right? And this very natural phenomenon happens where people say, okay, now I know how much I owe in taxes. It's the end of the year. I'm with my family. It's the holidays. I'm in the giving spirit, right? There's all of the gift giving that happens with the holidays and all of the presents that you get. And there's this very human urge to give back. And I think it's so important for people to realize that it's okay to be doing both of those things at the same time. That two things can be true at once. That you don't have to be purely altruistic to get some benefit out of giving. And you don't have to be purely financially motivated to get benefit out of giving. Because what happens is people who are financially motivated come in, they give, and they're like, oh yeah, I gave a bunch. That was great. And then what winds up happening is that's not what keeps them giving. What keeps them giving is the relationships and connection that they make with the nonprofits that they support, the sense of meaning and warmth and purpose that it gives them to help people who are less fortunate. And so I think when we come to the table with this understanding that the giving season is a product of both personal interest, personal financial planning, and a desire to give back, that we have a much more honest conversation about what our habits are as a culture. And so like the giving season is this product of that. And so what that means for us is like 60% of our activity happens in the last month of the year. And so it's a very seasonal thing, especially with complex assets, because you're waiting to see what that tax equation looks like. You know you want to give, but you're trying to optimize how much. And then once you give, you say, okay, I've got this pool of money here that is committed, that's like TVP, right? Total value locked, TVLP, right? It's like total value locked for philanthropy, right? And then you get to make this separate decision about how you're distributing everything over time. And now you get hooked, right? Now you start enjoying giving. And truthfully, I think like the act of giving is one of the best feelings in the world. And so we have no shame about people coming in with financial interests that they're trying to mitigate their taxes for. Like everybody wants to do better, keep more of their cash and take more home and mitigate and optimize their taxes. And this is an environment where you get to do it and get this like really warm and valuable, purposeful, meaningful experience at the same time.
Yeah. And I always tell people there's a lot of ways that you can choose to, shield your taxable gains, right? There's a lot of options. I also was an entrepreneur and did real estate and a bunch of other things. So I knew a lot of people in those situations. There were a lot of different ways. I know people that bought Range Rovers because of the tons, the weight of the vehicle, right? So you see these really, creative ways that people try to shield money. And so absolutely to what the point that you made is that, salute to everybody that when it comes to the time of the year to make those decisions, that the decision that you chose to do is to give because it makes an impact in others' lives. I'm curious. We've been talking a lot about this. I teed up a little bit. I kind of backtracked because I wanted to learn a little bit more about this giving season. But Endoament for everyone.
Sure.
I'd love if you can, give us a walkthrough of exactly what this looks like.
You want to test drive
if you wouldn't mind,
the Range Rover.
I want to. Let's test drive the giving Range Rover.
All right, hold on. Let me share my screen here. 1 second.
Someone's watching that like, you're talking about me. Yes, I am.
They're like, stop it.
They know who they are. They know who they are.
Okay, so October comes around. Giving season is here. Every year we like to put out our most exciting features right around giving season. And so this October is no different. It's our third year being around. We started in 2020, and this October, our big end of year release is Endoament for Everyone. And it's cool for a couple of reasons, and we're going to go for a test drive. But ultimately, you can now open a donor advised fund for free, no minimums. And every interaction has an on-chain receipt. Your own donor advised fund has a smart contract on Base. And you don't need to know anything about crypto to be able to use Endoament now. So you don't need a crypto wallet. You don't need digital assets. You can come to us with a Google or Facebook or Discord account, and you can give us cash or stock. And then, of course, we take crypto. But
did you say Discord account? So everybody in our Build on Circle Discord, we now know that you have a Discord account because you're in our Discord.
That's right.
Keep listening.
So right here, you can see like it's possible for you to sign in via Discord. You can create an endowment account for free, open up a donor advised fund, and have your own home for giving this giving season just with a social account. And what's happening on the back end here is that we're using account abstraction and user operations, some of the most bleeding edge crypto technology that's out there right now, and are creating a wallet that's just for your email address or just for your Discord account. And that becomes the wallet that interacts with the Base chain. And so this is the same way that you would interact with Endoament if you were signing in with Ethereum. It's no different. We're just using your social account to abstract away a new wallet that powers your account at Endoament. So here you can see you can also log in, no sweat, with your regular old Rainbow wallet. And we use message signatures, whether from the abstracted wallet or from the end Ethereum address, to know that it's you and to secure your account. And you can always upload your own personal information and get tax receipts really easily here as well. So once you have that account, it's time to set up your fund. And so you can get set up in 3 clicks with a donor advised fund on Endaoment. It's really amazing. You give it a name, you give it a description about like what impact you want to have. You can have fun with it. You can do whatever you want. You pick a network that you want to deploy to if you're connected with your wallet, or if you're connected with social, it will automatically deploy on Base. And you give us some information about yourself. And just like that, bing, you have a fund. A brand new donor advised fund contract has been created for you. It's ready to have assets added to it, or you can go check it out and set up a migration from your existing donor advised fund provider. So that's something we're really excited about, is that now people with existing donor advised funds can come try out on-chain giving without having to spend anything and with no switching risk. And as we talked about earlier, we now accept really any liquid asset. So not only do we accept crypto, of course, because that's our bread and butter, but we also accept cards. So this middle screenshot here is going to go through an Apple Pay flow. We have one of the smoothest USDC on-ramping flows, I think, in the game right now, going straight from Apple Pay to USDC on-chain deposited into your donor advised fund on a layer 2. And what we've done is just gone from scratch on the donor advised fund experience and said, what should this look like for the 21st century? Like, what would it be like if it felt like a modern community foundation existed for this new kind of investor that has come out of the woodwork thanks to digital assets? And so we're really excited with how these flows came out, and we hope that you'll play with them and open a donor advised fund and get it all set up and funded. And then once you've got money in your fund, right? So here we are, we have some money in our fund. You can do what's called making a grant recommendation. This is like the base action of a donor advised fund, is making a grant. So you pick a nonprofit, you say who it's from, if you can dedicate it with a special message. We actually publicly publish this message on chain, which is fun. And then you can give private instructions that aren't on chain that say where you want it to go to or what you want it to support. And the organization legally has to agree to that in order to receive the money. And so by the time you're done, you've done like a bespoke donation to a nonprofit that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to support with assets that you would have had to liquidate first into cash and take taxable gains on. So we're really excited with this whole flow. The Endaoment for Everyone experience has become like one of crypto's favorite use cases. We've granted out over 73% of the money that's come into Endaoment, which compared to the national average of around 20% a year, we are far outpacing the national average. This is our annual percentage distributed per year. We've also been experimenting with quadratic matching. So we have new kinds of matching funds too, where every gift on Endaoment gets matched from a quadratic matching fund. So the universal impact pool is this really amazing way for big donors to have widespread impact and for small donors to see their gifts get multiplied, because when they make a gift on Endaoment, it gets matched with a big chunk from the universal impact pool. So we're really excited about that as well. And of course, all of this is happening on L2, so it's really, really cheap. And if you're logging in with a social account, we cover the gas for you. And if you're using your own wallet, it's something like 7 cents, 10 cents to open a DAF. For comparison's sake, the large DAF providers have a minimum annual fee of $100 a year in order to open a DAF. So this is a totally different experience that we want the whole world to get to play with. That on-chain giving should really be for everyone, that you shouldn't have to know a bunch about crypto in order to get this benefit of faster, cheaper, always on, verifiable on-chain, multiplied donations, lightning fast grant distributions. Most of the time we're paying out the org within 36 hours of when you're giving to them. And so I just think that we're on the verge of showcasing how crypto can build better user experiences for the entire mainstream audience. And to us, Endaoment is the perfect vehicle to try and make that argument.
Man, I could start clapping right now, but it'll really mess up those ears that are listening. No, this is exciting. This is exciting stuff. I mean, like I said, I'm looking at it from both lenses. One side as somebody who's been involved with nonprofits, and the other tech geeky side that's excited about, on chain, USDC, flow of money, everything nice and easy. The user experience that you're bringing, it's very, very, very impressive. And for those watching more on the technical side, I want to let you know that Robbie is going to hang out, record a separate video that will either be in the description or pop up in here for you to follow, so you can get maybe a little bit more insight on exactly how they're utilizing, maybe even some of their integration tools that they've built up. So definitely pay attention to that as we click at the end of this video. Robbie, this is really great. I mean, this is even this is even bigger than when I first met you earlier this year. I mean, it's gotten cleaner, it's gotten better. It's just improving. And I want to give a shout out to Juan. It was Juan from Circle Ventures, actually, that made this connection here originally. So huge shout out to Juan. Yeah, huge shout out to Juan, Circle Ventures, Wyatt, the whole team. Really big shout out to the impact that they have made on bringing together really cool projects and people like yourself. I always enjoy talking with you. I think the first time I chatted with you, I didn't feel like stopping, and it's similar now. But yeah, I mean, for those that are now they've seen it, they're excited, they want to start trying this out. What's the website?
Endaoment.org, ENDAOMENT.org. And yeah, come check us out. We're really excited about these new features, and there is just an incredible team of humans, both at Endaoment.org and at our technology company, Endaoment.tech, that work every day to try and make these tools better and more accessible and reach a wider audience and really grow that giving pie. And so it's just such a pleasure to be a partner with Circle and to be a part of the Circle family. We are proudly running on USDC, and in many respects, wouldn't have been here without the support that this stablecoin brings. And we're even looking forward to getting more involved with matching gifts from corporations or from communities or from all sorts of different kinds of donor pools. And so we hope that you'll stay tuned. This is not the end of the feature set. It's just the beginning. And you can follow us on Twitter or Warpcast at endaoment.org. That's ENDAOMENT.org. We're also on Lens too. We're trying out all the decentralized social media as well. So
definitely. And we'll have all of that right in our description, all that in the description. And we're going to have more conversations on this, because we're going to see how we're going to get communities involved. We got all these Discords that are out there. Totally. We have everybody out there in crypto that are always, getting excited every time there's an appreciation in value. Well, let's start to give. Let's make that part of what we brag about here. Is that giving, right? Let's do that. Robbie, thank you so much. This has been awesome. Once again, appreciate you coming down to the Builder Series. Yeah, we're going to do a lot more with Robbie and Endaoment and his team, who I've gotten to meet, quite a few of them. He's absolutely right. Incredible team. Once again, make sure to watch out. We have a technical video, which you can go ahead and click to in the description. It'll also pop up in the CTA at the end of this video. So that way you can go a little deeper and see how you can start to incorporate Endaoment into what you're building, your platform, your 501c3. So thank you again, Robbie. Until next time, everybody, take care.
Thanks for having me.